Hello, welcome to News Before It Happens. We call it that because we do recognize the trends, we're ahead of the curve, and we tend to be somewhat prophetic and knowing how to protect kids, how to warn parents, how to point out hidden grooming traps, and news as it's coming down the pipe, we do recognize it. And so I have a very special guest tonight, and this is one of our survivors who's decided that she's going to come forth with her story. She's telling her story tonight for the first time. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Lynn. It is an honor to be here. Any way that I can help other victims is the reason I'm here.
Thank you. And Jessica, we are protecting your identity, and that's why you don't see her face. It's a very beautiful face, but we are not giving her name. And I want our audience to understand that human trafficking has very complex facets, really from virtual to physical. But the definition of trafficking is for an adult is the use of force, fraud, and coercion for the purpose of bringing a person into a commercial sex act.
That's true, Lynn. And even more than that, what I've noticed is a crime where the perpetrators profit at the expense of the victim's freedom.
Wow.
Yeah, and they're looking for a certain type of victim. That's what I found, and they're typically looking for women that are vulnerable.
Or children that are vulnerable.
Children.
Yes. And so, okay, so let's talk a little bit about what made you vulnerable and what your childhood was like.
Okay. Well, generally, my parents got divorced when I was 8 years old. I lived with my mother and my sister, and I really idolized him because I longed sort of for that father-daughter relationship, and he was a larger than life person. So that was sort of the history.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what kinds of things happened to you in your childhood that you think made you vulnerable as far as violation?
So it took a while to figure out what even that meant, because I guess it goes back maybe till 8 years old or even before. There were a couple situations that were I was definitely sexually abused for an adult, like a very much older adult.
An older man?
Yes, an older man, like an old man, like very
Wow.
old.
Did your parents know about it?
My mother did. My mother and my stepfather did know, and it was just kind of minimized because, kind of laughed at because
They laughed because you got violated?
they did. Yes, they did. They tried to minimize it.
Oh, wow. So you've gone through your childhood and you've had these violations. And that leads up to this point. And I want to point out the common denominator with all of the survivors that we have worked with over the years is they have childhood trauma, they have abuse, they have sexual violation, and it continues on in their life.
Yeah.
And, it's predators and traffickers can see their vulnerabilities. They can see it from a mile away.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, and it did continue, I think, with me. I didn't really put the two together, but pretty much every relationship that I had, even in high school with boyfriends, it seemed to be that I was gravitated or they were gravitated to me, this type of a person with some kind of a sexual issue, aggression, and abuse from the very beginning. Yes, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I remember one time actually when my mom had moved in with a boyfriend, and we left the state and moved to a state further away, many hours away. And it was short-lived. I don't remember a lot, but there was another incident that happened, and right away she left this man, and so yeah, the pattern kind of continued all the way into adulthood, I would say.
Wow. So through high school,
Yes.
into adulthood,
Yes.
it's one relationship after another that
Yes.
seems to be abusive. I've read reports, scientific reports. I've read in Psychology Today that predators can actually smell the odor of anxiety and vulnerability in a room. They can pick out the ones who have been violated and they gravitate right to them.
I used to wonder why me. I shouldn't understand why it seemed to be one after the other. And and each one sort of was worse. Finally, when I was 29 and I met this person, yeah, it felt like there was a target on me, or that he just could sense my weakness and vulnerability and where I was in that point in my life.
So we've established this pattern across the board with adults and also children alike. So it was like you had a neon sign on your head screaming, abuse me, or use me, or, take advantage of me, because you had all these unhealed traumas. And that is so common. I just want you to know you're not the only one. I would say most people that have come through my office for inner healing have had the same thing in their past. Yes. And so now let's get into your story. Okay. So what made you attracted to him?
Well, like I said, I was in a vulnerable situation. I was just getting out of a relationship and I was living alone, 29 years old, working in the city. Pretty successful, had a career, but emotionally, I really didn't have much of a self-esteem. My mom always told me to sort of emphasize what I had that was good, and I was pretty. I was the pretty one, she said, in the family.
You are.
Well,
still are.
Thank you. Thank you. So she would, tell me to use that because it helps. And it was emphasized a lot, my looks. And so when I met this person, he seemed as if he was just kind of larger than life and very charismatic. And he approached me. So it seemed like he was interested in me. And that was important to me. It felt like I needed to be needed, or needed to be wanted, or loved.
Feel special.
He did.
And I've heard this story
time and time again from victims who have been groomed by traffickers who really know how to turn on the charm. And they become the big Romeo. And they're romancing you and telling you how special and unique and wonderful you are. They're building you up. And this is all part of the grooming process, right? So that's how it all started. Okay, so was this guy addicted to pornography?
So yes, he was very addicted to pornography in a way that was just depravity, really. I was never exposed to pornography. I mean, if I seen on a magazine stand being younger, a Playboy magazine, that was about all I have ever experienced until I met him.
How soon did he start exposing you to this? And was that part of the grooming process?
It was pretty immediate. It was immediate. It was part of the carefree, charismatic, fun. We're gonna, maybe go have a couple drinks, and
so he always got you to drink before he did this.
Yes, I couldn't have done what I did the first time without drinking.
So he really did he use pornography in the shock process of grooming you to get you used to seeing certain things so that you would do certain things?
So one time I discovered his pornography collection, and I was already pretty deep in the relationship in my mind at that point, that I didn't think I could get out. I was learning that he wasn't the person that he said he was. He had given me a fake name. He didn't really have a job. And I was doing very well. So when I started to find this out, I found an entire collection of pornography. At the time, it was tapes, videotapes, and CDs. And I mean, from the floor to the ceiling of a closet, I've never seen anything like it. And so it began with that. It began being introduced during a sexual relationship with him, and it was just part of the norm.
Part of the process.
Yes,
of getting you
the process.
Considered that it was normal, and anything perverted, that it would be normal. So how did he keep you chained emotionally and mentally? Was he abusive?
Yes. First of all, he was, once I figured out where I was and how deep I was in so quickly, first of all, I was shocked. I couldn't believe that I was, and I didn't know how to navigate that. But he normalized it. He made it like it was like be free and fun, and why should, you're beautiful and use your looks, and so many women think you're so beautiful. And he would expose me and show me off and want me to wear things that were uh, for his pleasure, and it seemed as if for everybody else's.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so he started bringing other people into the relationship.
He did, yes.
And was he filming at the time?
He was filming at the time.
So he just kept doing one thing after another that just brought you in deeper and deeper.
Yes.
And did you feel like you could escape?
I thought at that point that maybe he could change, or maybe he wouldn't do this all the time.
Did he seem to give you that idea that he would change?
Probably not. Probably I was hoping.
Well, I don't think there's any person in an abusive situation that doesn't believe the person who's abusing them will change.
Yeah.
I think that's very common. That's what people do. I've been in an abusive situation myself, and lived, a long time in that situation. And you really believe with all your heart that there is going to be change.
I think so. I think for me, I don't know if this is different for other people, but it happens so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember one of the first physical violent acts that happened. He brought me up to his parents' house to meet his parents. Like I said, he had a different name. So when I went up there, he was calling him a different name. And he said he had all these houses and all these things. So the lies started to unfold. And it was very early in the relationship, and I wasn't able to navigate it. I wasn't from the mountains. I was from a small town. And anyways, I wasn't really able to figure it out. And he was really frustrated with me. It was almost like there was a weakness in me, and he didn't like that when I wasn't strong and I wasn't doing it right. So he physically threw me off and I fell. And I had bruises all over me, and I was 4 hours away from home. And I just remember thinking, this was the very beginning, like, I'm done now. What am I going to do? This is who he is. How am I going to do now?
Process of keeping somebody on that merry-go-round of abuse. And you were saying that he wasn't really what we call a Romeo pimp. He was actually pretty brutal most of the time.
Yes, that's why I would question myself why I was even in this, and how can I get out if I was the one helping him financially. I was the one with the job. So I really didn't understand what I was doing. Why?
When you first came into this relationship, he wasn't making money, and yet he was filming. He was bringing other people over, bringing other people into this filming. And were there younger, like teenagers?
Yes. So the first thing that I noticed about him, that I thought was unusual because it was even worse than anyone that I had been with before, is he seemed to have a lot of younger girls under 18. So he was probably about 35, and they were always under 18. They were 17, they were 16. They would come to him, and he would help them. He said he was helping them.
And you actually met them.
All of them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he brought them in as if they were his friends, and he was helping them with different things and looking up to him. And he would want me to be friends with them. So if I didn't, he would make me feel bad, like I wasn't being very nice to them.
And the abuse also continued.
Yes.
So, this fits so many stories that we have heard from victims of human trafficking. And it's so deep, and it's so dark, and it's so, how do you explain to somebody the reason people don't just walk out? It's because you've been coerced, your mind has been controlled, you've been told things about your value and your worth that you feel like there is no way out.
Yes. I remember this statement from my mother to my father. Like I said, my parents were divorced, but they had a good relationship. And my mother reached out to my father when it was the time to figure out, am I going to leave or not leave? And at this point, I was married. And I just remember her telling my father that, have you seen your daughter lately? Have you seen her? She isn't who she was. She's a shadow of herself. And I was about 102 pounds, and I'm at 5'7". And
you were starved?
So I was so abused physically, emotionally, sexually, mentally was, it was so severe that I guess I just got to the point where it manifested in my body, and doctors didn't know what I had, and they were thinking it was a lot of different autoimmune diseases. But basically, I wasn't able to eat at all or sleep. So I was losing so much weight. I was in and out of the hospital at that point.
Incredible.
Yeah.
It's amazing that you're alive. All right.
So
So
amazing.
Let's talk about, how did you get out?
Yeah. So I went on to marry this person, which probably doesn't make sense to a lot of people, but I didn't think I could get out by then. I had already seen enough that I've seen what he had done to other people illegally and threatening, that there was, in my mind, no way I could get out.
So you saw him harm other people.
Yes.
So it was a part of his threatening process with you.
Yes.
So, and that's part of, listen, that's another
Yes.
coercive tactic that traffickers use. Yes. Okay. So what was the final blow?
Well, I had married him. I had 6-month-old twins, and we had moved from New York to Florida. And I was praying and hoping. I didn't really know God, but I knew about God. And so I began to pray that he would change. And they were 6 months old. And seemed like maybe he would. I hoped he would. And it got worse. He would bring people home, even in his business that he had, which I wasn't really sure exactly what he did. But again,
There's always an elusive
yes,
business with the
yes.
trafficker.
There
Yes.
was a business in which it was some sort of beauty business. I don't even really understand what it was, but there was a lot of. He didn't tell me a lot.
But I saw these young girls
Yes.
coming in and out,
Yes.
and films were being made.
Yes.
And you were being forced to be a part of it all.
Yep, I was, until I said no more. I guess that was probably it. It was probably a moment.
How did that happen?
Yeah, so I was progressively getting sick. My health was deteriorating. So it was.
And you had babies.
I had babies. I had babies.
That makes you feel even more like you can't get out because you have these babies you've got to take care of.
It did feel like that, but I think they were also my motivation.
yes.
Because it was another statement that my mom said, and I remember her saying to me, I'm looking at this painting here in the living room, as clear as I can see this painting. I see that if you stay with this person, you will be dead in 6 months. And I realized she was right. I couldn't hold down any food. I couldn't even barely function. I couldn't sleep. I was so afraid all the time. I was afraid he's going to bring somebody home. I was afraid if I didn't do what he asked me or told me to do or what I had to do, then he'd pick me up and throw me against the wall. I think it was that last time he did that. And then my mother's statement, and just the look in my little boy's eyes that he was hurting them as well. And at that point, I just got the strength inside of me to say, whatever is on the other side, I don't know, but it can't be worse than this.
So somebody actually came alongside you and helped you. Tell us that story.
Yes. So I had a nanny a couple hours a day for 2 days a week. So 4 hours, 2 days a week. And I don't even know how she became my nanny. It was like through somebody who knew somebody. I just say that it was God for sure. She was a pastor's wife who was a Pentecostal minister's wife. And she actually brought me to the Lord. So she was taking care of my kids. And she was such an amazing, godly woman. And I got to know her whole entire family. And while I was really sick, she would help me. She would cook for me.
And this is how you met the Lord.
This is how I
The
met
love
the
of
Lord.
this woman.
Yes.
And her witness to you.
Yes, this
Wow.
is how I met the Lord. And she brought me to the Lord. And she taught me. And she was aware of what was going on. I told her. When I told her, I also began going to church, and I finally got the guts to go to church and to say to the pastor, to have a meeting with him and to tell him everything that was going on.
Did he believe you?
Oh yes, he believed me.
Wonderful.
He did believe
That's
me.
awesome.
He was so horrified. He was. I mean, he believed me because I was in such physically bad shape,
Oh,
and I
yes,
was.
it was showing.
It was showing.
clear.
Yeah, it was very clear
Mhm.
that I was being abused. It wasn't. It was very obvious. But when I added in the details of the sexual stuff, the pornography, that he immediately said, from a biblical point of view and a safety point of view, and how can I help you? You have to leave the situation. And within a week, I had the church took 2 trucks and brought them to my house and took everything. I was selling everything, and they helped me buy a car, and it was that decision at that moment that I said I have to leave. I don't have a choice. Yeah.
Well, all I can say is thank you, God, for stepping in and saving your life and the life of your children. That is just brilliant. So, what is your message to somebody out there that might be struggling in an abusive situation or might be being trafficked?
So, first, I just want everyone to know that I think God has given us a will to live, and He wants us to know what our identity is in Christ, and every single one of us are so precious and beautiful. And women should never, and children should never be abused in this way or this manner. But there's something inside of us, and I know that each one of you, if you're going through anything like this, has this. If you ask yourself, you know, is it better if I stay or is it better if I leave? What could happen if I stay? And for me, it was that moment that if I stayed, I remembered the words my mom said to me. I looked at the condition of my health. I looked at my children, and I wondered what kind of future, how the abuse would continue, because it already was continuing with my children.
The light finally dawned.
Yes, the light
Yes.
finally dawned. Now, it's not, there's sometimes not a strategic path. It was a decision. We each have a decision.
We have a choice.
We have a choice.
We have a choice.
We always have a choice.
Yes.
And so I had a choice. And even when some of the young girls in his business would call me and say, "You're going to leave him? How are you going to leave him? Do you have any money? Do you have anything?" "No, I don't. I have nothing." He emptied the bank account. The cars were leased. He took the cars. I didn't have a car. The house went into foreclosure, and I had boys. So the will for me to save my children, my relationship with God, that's all that I needed. And just God started putting people in my life. The church, that's what I mean. Yes. The church came and helped, and my nanny and her entire family came to help, and people just showed up. They just showed up. And it to the point where my mom, I know.
If you're not crying out there, I don't know how you're not, because this is amazing.
I am remembering now, and it's making me emotional because I didn't know how I was going to do it. I mean, how can you do it? It looks impossible, because I also had to think about the factor of the retaliation. I've seen what he did to other people. So it was a risk, but it was the best risk that I ever took, because I believe that I protected my boys from more abuse. Yes, they did continue to have some abuse over their childhood. Unfortunately, they did. And there was some shared parental responsibility, and he never did get prosecuted.
Well,
But
that can change.
yes. But I just want to encourage other people, because other women that I've tried to help and talk to over the years as I've healed, I've had a lot of healing. I've had to do a lot of healing. 10 years ago, I wouldn't be able to have this conversation. That I wouldn't.
Look at you now. Isn't that wonderful? Now, did you go through therapy and inner healing, and what was your process?
So many years of healing, inner healing, EMDR, every kind of therapy you can probably imagine. Art therapy.
Yes.
Yes,
Well,
art therapy.
and
And now you're a part of the team
Teams
that
that-
helped trafficked children.
Yes.
And she actually works with trafficked children in the Power of Art programs. And I am so proud of you. And by the way, I heard from our other teachers and people out there that you are a fabulous teacher and the children really relate to you. And that's just amazing. That's part of your healing also.
It's part of my healing, and this is the first time I've been able to finally do it. I've wanted to do this for so many years, and there was too much PTSD. But now, so the first time I stepped into that facility to teach the children the power of art, I didn't know what to expect. And it was so gratifying. It was so amazing because I saw myself in that little girl, and I just knew I could feel what she had been through, and I had the empathy and the ability to connect with her and hopefully just plant one little seed, because that's what people did for me. It was one seed or one step that I had to take, and then next somebody else came along. Somebody else. Wow. Yeah.
Well, I know that you want to hear more. I want to hear more. But we're going to go ahead and move on to reminding you parents that we have a once a month 15-minute parent webinar that you can sign up for and attend for free. You might be able to prevent your child from being groomed online or from friends or over at a friend's house or, some family member. This is where we give you specific apps and tremendous solutions to keep children safe online, to protect them from grooming. And I just want to thank my friend for coming in, for having the courage. I am so proud of you. I think that God and all the angels are up there. They're just clapping and everybody's cheering you on. And those who've gone on before you are leaning over the banisters of heaven, cheering you on, just like we're cheering you on here. And this is only the beginning of your story.
Thank you, Lynn. It's just so it's an honor to be here, because I don't know, God put us together a couple of months ago,
Yes.
and it could be.
How long has it been?
Has it been? Maybe it's been 6 months.
Yeah, I think it's been about 6 months. Yes.
Yes.
God
Long
put
enough
us
to get to
together.
know you.
Yeah. But I feel like God is going to do amazing things with UACT.
Yes.
And with my testimony and other women. I just want to encourage other women that they too can do this, and
Amen.
to never ever quit.
Amen.
Yeah.
All right.